Live from Hollywood, California, VJ Vernon Husky, the Big Vanilla Funnies, Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
My girl wants to party all the time, party all the time. Do y'all realize Rick James wrote to help write this and produce this for Eddie Murphy, man? I love this track. I had to bring something funky in with y'all tonight, man, as we start the show, man. VJ's Unsportsmanlike Conduct. I'm your host, VJ Vernon Husky, a.k.a. Mr. VJ, right? It's because I always think I am. Mr. 8515, the Big Vanilla Shack, the Creamy Kobe, the Blue Eyed Barkley, Mr. Never Shut Up, VJ's Top Talker, and the Big Vanilla Color Card, because I got a deck of them shits, because in sports sometimes you got to play the color card, and we will touch on the color card today. And when that color card needs to be dealt, I am your Big Vanilla dealer, man. I want to welcome everybody listening live right now on Spreaker.com, everybody that's tuning in live on my IG and on my YouTube channel. It is 2:30 a.m. on the West Coast, okay? 2:30 a.m. My son is up. My 15-month-old son, Cam, that you guys see on my social media, is up. So if you guys hear some Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and if y'all hear my son, just respect my hustle, man. I understand it might not sound like the most professional sports talk radio show tonight, but just respect my hustle that I got my son up with me, and I still got to get this show on because there's so much going on with the NCAA tournament coming up. There's so much going on in NFL free agency, and normally, I'm not this interested in the NBA in March as I am right now. And that's where I'll start my opening rant. We talked the other night about things changing fast in sports. Things change fast in life. I don't like fast change. I'll tell you right now, I don't like fast change. I don't like to change lanes fast on the highway. I don't like to change lanes fast on the street. I don't like to change lanes fast in the grocery store. I don't want to just see your cart coming, then I got to jerk my cart over. Like, hold on, bruh. Let's maneuver this. Let's slowly make sure. I'm still looking at the English muffins. I don't know if my diet's going to allow me to get the blueberry English muffins this week. So I'm not ready to move just yet. I'll move on my own time or when it's more conducive for the aisle. I'm like that in life too, man. I understand the reason why people are going crazy nowadays and right now is because the change that we've gone through in the last year with COVID and with the coronavirus, and it's been a real quick, rapid, fast change. And a lot of people don't do well with quick, rapid, fast change. I'm one of them. I don't do well with quick, fast, rapid change. I like things to change at a nice, moderate pace, and I think most human beings, especially Americans, do. In sports, we talked about how fast things change and how you got to get it in now. You got to be very aggressive with your moves and what you do now because things just change so damn fast in sports. We talked the other day about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, how fast it changed for them. You have Jameis Winston, and I love Jameis Winston, but Jameis Winston had over 40 turnovers. You bring in Tom Brady. You bring in Gronk. You bring in AB. You bring in Leonard Fournette. And those three other guys, they did okay. They didn't do great, but when they really needed them, AB caught a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl, running the wrong route. That's how great Tom Brady is. Oh, he ran the wrong route. No problem. I'll just throw it right here. There we go. Touchdown. Gronk had two tutties. He had two tutties in the Super Bowl. He had a tutty in the playoff game. He had big catches in the postseason, late into the season. Took a while for that offense to get going in the jail. Got to get healthy. God would miss sometimes, but things change fast, right? Tampa Bay, Super Bowl champions, haven't been to the playoffs in almost 10 years, or over 10 years. College hoops, things change real fast. You get a one-and-done guy. You get the top recruit guy. You get the number one or the number two guy. You bring in a Zion, and you get to the Elite Eight. You can't get to the Final Four, but you get to the Elite Eight. You bring in an AD, you win the national championship. You bring in a Carmelo, you win the national championship. Jim Boeheim hasn't played for a national championship since Carmelo Anthony. That's how fast things changed for them and went right back to normal. Jim Boeheim's a great coach. Syracuse is a great school, great program. But with today's temperature of college basketball, not a lot of kids want to go freeze their balls off in northern New York and Syracuse outside of Fort Drum, almost on the borderline of Canada in the wintertime and play basketball. Now when you could play for some other schools with some bigger names, and maybe some schools are cutting bigger checks. I don't know. But I'm just not stupid. You look at the NFL, Philly just won the Super Bowl 3-4 years ago. They've already traded their number 2 overall quarterback. They've already fired their Super Bowl winning head coach, Doug Peterson. Out is Carson Wentz, in is Jalen Hurts. You get rid of Nelson Aguilar. You move some other pieces. Players get hurt. Players leave in free agency. You lose Malcolm Jenkins. He goes back to the Saints. You're fighting for a playoff position under 500 in your division all year long, and now you're starting pretty much over. They're looking at running back, receiver, defensive help. You got a quarterback, got to surround him with some help. You have a top 5 pick, top 6 pick. I believe number 7, I believe, is where they're sitting right now. 6 or 7, I believe, is where the Philadelphia Eagles sit. Number 6. So you got a top 6 pick. Got to get that kid some help. Just 3-4 years ago, your backup quarterback was catching a touchdown in the Super Bowl and beating Bill Belichick, Brady, and the mighty Patriots. Things change fast. Things change fast in other sports. You have the Astros, were the darlings of Major League Baseball. The darlings of Major League Baseball. One scandal later, everybody wants to hit them with pitches. Everybody wants to fight them. Fans want to boo them. I wonder how brutal it'll be this year for the Astros. They kind of got away with it last year because there were no fans. They kind of got off easy. Let's see if the fans remember. I think fans have a short memory when it comes to certain things and certain scandals. They move on. There's someone else to talk about and pick on and talk shit to and make fun of. There's other people to go bother. You look at the Seattle Seahawks. You look at the Patriots, the Miami Dolphins, the Houston Texans. All teams, things change fast. Miami starts off 0-7 last year. 0-7 last year, 10-6 this year, game away from the playoffs. Looking to make some big moves this offseason. Has a big has a future quarterback, some people think, or bust already after just 9 starts, some people think. Things are going to change fast for Miami. Things are going to change fast for Houston. You're moving Deshaun, you keep it Deshaun, things are going to change fast for Seattle. You're moving Sierra, not Sierra. You're moving Russell Wilson. Thought it was Sierra. Sorry, guys. He acts like her now, so that's why I get them confused and mixed up. Are you keeping them? Things change fast. In the NBA, things change fast, too. And things have changed mighty fast for the Boston Celtics. They've had all the draft picks. Danny Ainge loaded up this team with a bunch of draft picks over a few years, and they tanked. And they ended up with Jaylen Brown, and they ended up with Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart. You had Kyrie and you had Gordon through free agency. And you got Kyrie through a trade. You really tried to build this team. Had Enes Kanter, a veteran guy there who was leading the league in offensive rebounds and second chance points. So you had a tough-minded offensive rebounder, guy that's going to blue collar, play in the paint, play hard for you. This thing has just not worked out. And just so how fast things change. Just 3 years ago, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals without Kyrie Irving and got to a Game 7 at home against the Cleveland Cavs and LeBron James. Lost that game at home. They haven't been back. They haven't been better since. They haven't had a better season or a better moment since. It is changing fast in Boston. They want Brad Stevens' head in Boston. Which brings me to the Indiana Hoosiers job that is now open. Ironically, in the same state of Butler University, ironically, only 46 miles apart, 46 half and a miles apart from Indianapolis to Bloomington. Only where Brad Stevens used to coach. Went to a national championship game, had Gordon Hayward there, had some other good runs with that Butler team, the team that pretty much put mid-majors on the map in the NCAA March Madness tournament. I mean, they killed that conference for a good 3 or 4 years. They were, honestly, they were Gonzaga before Gonzaga. They really were. They got to a national championship game before Gonzaga did. Remember, they got to a national championship game against Duke. Gonzaga finally got to one against the Tar Heels 2 years ago and got beat. Lost by 6 or 7, I believe. 72-65 or 71-65, I believe it was. Carolina should have won back-to-back. Referees robbed them in the Villanova game the year before that. Referees robbed them. Completely robbed. It was total crap. They wanted Villanova to have that. They wanted Villanova to have that story national championship win again like they did against Georgetown in '85. They wanted that again for Villanova. And the refs did it for them. Vegas and the refs did it for them. But the reason why I bring up the Indiana job, because Brad Stevens, when asked about the Indiana job earlier last night, after their game, after Boston's game, he didn't sound like that he wasn't interested in the job. Let's just say that. He didn't sound like he had no interest in the job. He didn't sound like he's not leaving Boston and he would never think about going to college to coach the Indiana Hoosiers in Bloomington, legendary Indiana, the candy stripe barber pole warm-up pants Indiana. Isaiah Thomas and Calbert Chainley and Victor Oladipo and Eric Gordon and Bobby Knight and Tom Kroom coaching there in Indiana. Sage Steele went to Indiana from ESPN. I think she ran track there, if I'm not mistaken. My homeboy from high school, Potomac High School senior Potomac High School in Dumfries, Virginia. Rico Lloyd played football, ran track at Indiana. Homeboy, young man I went to high school went back in the day. I'm telling you right now, and I'll go out on a limb. If Indiana offers Brad Stevens the job, if I'm Brad Stevens, I get out of Boston as fast as I can. Boston will find another coach. It's Boston. It's the Celtics. There's a lot of qualified guys out there they can bring in to coach that team that I think would do a really good job and turn that thing around. If Nate McMillan doesn't get to keep the job in Indiana, in Atlanta, if I'm Boston, I'm calling Nate McMillan as soon as this season's over. If Atlanta opens up that coaching search, if I'm Boston, I'm right on Nate McMillan. I am right on Nate McMillan. He's going to coach defense. He can work with your guards. He played the guard. He played the wing position. He's been very successful coaching that position as a head coach in Portland and in Indiana. And now the reason why they moved him to that job after the Hawks fired their coach is because you have Trae Young. You have a point guard that's really honestly supposed to save this franchise, but hasn't done it yet. I'm not a Trae Young fan, or I'm not a Trae Young hater. I'm like 50-50 on Trae Young. It's like, yeah, okay, I get. He reminds me of a guard, Blake Griffin. When Blake Griffin came out of Oklahoma, he was going to change the Clippers. He was going to change the league. He was going to change the NBA. And a lot of it was just the same highlights. It's just lob, dunk, lob, dunk, lob, dunk, lob, dunk, lob, dunk. You talk about a man that never averaged more than 8 boards a game as a power forward at 6'9", 6'10", with all that leaping ability. You can't get me 8 boards a game? You're a highlight player. He got so lucky playing with Chris Paul. Chris Paul made him look a lot better than he did, much like DeAndre Jordan, much like Tyson Chandler. And I love Tyson Chandler. I like Tyson Chandler when he was in high school. I went to the Jordan Brand Classic game that Tyson Chandler played in. I saw him play in high school. But he was never the player after the New Orleans Hornets stint. When they moved from Charlotte to New Orleans, he was never that player again after playing with Chris Paul. Got to a Game 7 at home in the second round against the Spurs and got beat. He's never been the same player again. He was integral in Dallas' championship when Dallas beat the Miami Heat, but he was never that same guy again that he was in New Orleans with Chris Paul. I'm not a Chris Paul guy, but any big he plays with plays better. He's so smart. He's so good at giving them the ball. He's so good at throwing the lobs. The pick and pop, the pick and roll. That's what Chris Paul does, man. Like, once again, not a Chris Paul fan, never have been, but he's a great point guard. Great point guard. You cool, son? I know you guys probably hear my son. Like I said, don't think I'm unprofessional. Respect my hustle and respect my grind is all I ask for tonight. But he hanging out with daddy, and the more I talk, the more he talk. And the more I talk, the more I make noise, the more he wants to make noise. So it's kind of a competition thing. But if I'm Brad Stevens, guys, ladies, gentlemen, kids, children, people of all ages, if I am Brad Stevens, and I'm offered the job by the Indiana Hoosiers, I take that job. I get out of Boston as fast as I can because that ship is sinking fast. Boston's 20-19, and they're 6th seed in the East right now. You got Tatum and Brown. Tatum's at 25-7-4. Brown's at 24-5-4. 2 all-star players. But Danny Ainge had a lot of draft picks to work with, a lot of draft capital, got 2 free agents there, and he lost 1 trade and 1 free agent guy already. Gordon Hayward left, and Kyrie got out of there. I know Marcus Smart's been hurt this year, but Marcus Smart's not the reason why they're 20-19. They're a 500 basketball team, guys. We're in the middle of March. We're moving to the second half of March. We're past daylight savings time. After daylight savings time, your team's got to kind of be coming together, already be together. They're not close. They're first round exit out right now. If the playoffs started today, I don't think they'd beat the 3rd ranked team or the 2nd best team or the 1st team in the East. I don't think they beat the Sixers in the series if everybody's healthy. I don't think they beat the Nets in the series if everybody's healthy at all. I get out of there as fast as I possibly can. You lost Gordon, Kyrie gone, and Kemba. You brought Kemba in, and Kemba to me, he's a great. Listen, Kemba's a great player. I'm sure Kemba's a great guy and a really good person, but great guys and really good person, they don't win you a lot of championships. You can win them if you're Duncan. You can win them if you're Jabbar, Bill Russell, and those guys. Really nice guys. Derek Jeter, really nice guys. The perceived assholes, they win a lot of championships. Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, John Elway. They were the Brett Favre, Tom Brady. Tom Brady isn't always people don't always think he's the nicest guy. He desires a lot, demands a lot from people because he gives a lot. Goes off on people, goes off on coaches, goes off on. I got 7 Super Bowl rings, though. That's just the way the life rules are set up. I kind of get to do this. I'm allowed to kind of do this and act like this. I have 7 Super Bowl rings. 80s Bay, what's going on? Somebody join 80s Bay. Let me say what's up and throw a wave at her. I'm not sure if she's still live on here, but I appreciate you for joining in VJs on Sportsmanlike Conduct on my IG Live. But if I'm Brad Stevens and I'm offered that job for the Indiana Hoosiers, he could turn Indiana around. Forget about Boston. He leaves Boston, goes back to Indiana, a state where he recruited, where he coached, where he scouted, where he slept, where he ate. You go back, you're 46 miles away from where you were. You can go to the same restaurants. You can stay at the same hotels. You can go to the same events. You can go to the same bars. You can hang out in the same gyms and see the same AAU circuit and see the same high school circuit. You could go back, and now you're not pitching Butler. You're pitching Indiana. There are still kids who grow up in the state of Indiana who dream and wake up and fall asleep and pray and eat, drink, bleed, sweat. Hoosier basketball. And you have a guy now who's done it in that state before. He took Butler to a national championship. Let's just call it what it is. Indiana's never been as good since Bobby Knight's prime. He doesn't have a lot to have to live up to. What are you going to end? He's got to live up to Tom Croom. I forget that coach's name. The guy that just fired just now. They just fired Sampson. Got to live up to these guys. Indiana's had scandal. Indiana's has some grade changing issues. Indiana's had some. There was a case of possible sexual misconduct. Like that program, right now, it's the perfect job for Brad Stevens. It's the perfect job for him because he has that image. He looks the clean cut, no facial hair, nice military style, all American, classic corporate hairstyle. He looks a certain way, stands a certain way, walks a certain way. There's still part of this country, people who still look at stuff like that, believe it or not. I would honestly think that Bloomington campus is one of those places. He looks, he talks, he walks. He is the part of the next head coach of the University of Indiana basketball program. Now, I don't think it'll happen because he'd have to just walk away from Boston in the middle of the season. But I'm going to be honest with you. If I am, I'd do it. So what? Some people are going to say some stuff about you in the press. So what? That's not going to stop any kids from committing to you. You could go in their living room. The parents say, yeah, but you just walked away from Boston. How do we know you won't walk away from Indiana? My answer would be simple. I'm not from there. I wanted to come home. This is where I am. This is the age I am right now. I plan on being in Indiana for a very long time. I plan on being coaching at a Bloomington home games for a very, very long time. I can't put him out of years on it, sir. Ma'am, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, who's ever sitting there with the kid. I can't put a number on it. But obviously the NBA was a different, I had some success. I was able to learn to coach better. I was able to learn to coach in a different, I could bring that type of system, that type of experience back down to college. I could bring that back down to college. And I can bring Indiana basketball back. He's not pitching Butler, guys. He's pitching the Hoosiers. There's a movie name. There's not a movie named The Blue Devils. There's not a movie named The Bruins. There's not a movie named The Tar Heels. But there's a movie called Hoosiers. Gene Hackman did a tremendous job at that movie. It's one of the best sports movies. Hoosiers is one of the best sports movies ever made. And I know you guys probably hear my son's toy right now. He's got a replica Xbox controller, but it's by Fisher Price, and it makes a lot of noise and a lot of sound. So he's crawling away from it right now. So hopefully we're done with that interruption on BJ's on Sportsmanlike Conduct. But to wrap up my opening rant, before we get into some NFL free agency and I open up the call line, if you're Brad Stevens and this job is offered to you, you take this job. And if you're Indiana, the first guy I call, I'll propose this question: if you're Indiana, who you calling? Who you gonna get as Indiana? We're seeing former players like Georgetown, Patrick Ewing won the Big East, Juwan Howard, University of Michigan, number 1 seed in the tournament. First time they've been a number 1 seed in the tournament since he played there and got them a number 1 seed in the tournament, along with Ray Jackson, Jimmy King, and Chris Webber and Jalen Rose, of course, the Fab Five. But if you're Indiana, who are you looking at? Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters? That was corny as shit. I cannot believe I just did that. And on that note, I'm gonna leave this topic alone. If he gets the call, you got to take that job. Get out of Boston. Boston's over. Okay. NFL free agency. Listen, just a few things that I wanted to just touch on, because these are some things that I hit on my last show where I talked about. I did a show on a Zoom with two gentlemen, Mr. Kenneth Clark, that has his own podcast on another platform, and another gentleman that is part of a 25-man sports podcast, journalists, broadcasters type group that I'm with on Twitter. Everybody's got their own platform, their own show, their own thing they're doing. We did a Zoom, I believe it was Friday. We did a Zoom, and I talked about this NFL draft not having a franchise defensive player. I don't see a guy in this draft who can come in and change your franchise. That's not to say that it won't happen, but he's going to be one of those stories where they say he's overachieved, or he worked hard, or he was a third-round pick, and look what he's done. Like Khalil Mack was a first-round pick, was a top-5 pick, but he did play for Buffalo. If he just did not blow away he blew everything away is what got him drafted high. He blew the combine away. He blew his pro day away. All his tape was great. The game against Ohio State, like, it's almost like somebody told him, this could be the game that could get you drafted in the first round. You got to just go out. We're not going to win this game. And they did. They played him tough, but they weren't going to win that game. Offensively, they don't have the weapons. Defensively, he held Ohio State's offense in check almost single-handedly. That's what got him drafted so high. So even though he didn't play at a big school, he was still drafted high, but if not for the game tape and him blowing it all away, he's a guy that might have went in the second or third round. But I don't see that guy in this draft. And I talked about the free agent period not being as good as the draft is, even offensively. There's a lot of receivers everybody's focusing on in this free agency, and I got some mind-blowing numbers here. But like I said this on the Zoom call, and I talked about it on Twitter with a gentleman the other day that runs another podcast out in the Midwest, Texas, actually, to be exact, out in Dallas. And he talked about it seeming like it was moving slow for receivers. I told him it's going to be slow for receivers. The teams are waiting on this draft. This draft is loaded with receivers. In the last 2 or 3 drafts we've had some receivers come in the league that have helped change franchises. And I think other GMs, the NFL's a copycat league, right? I think some other GMs, what's up, my man Alfonso Sawyer out there in Fredericksburg, Virginia, my brother. It's not even my boy, my friend or anything. That's my brother in life, my brother in God, my brother in Christ, my brother in mischievous and shenanigans. Me and that dude used to be shenanigans together back in the day. But we've grown past that. We don't pimp no more. No, we never were pimps. We was just pimping because pimping be pimping and pimping was pimping. That's what we was doing. But I thought that this draft was loaded with receivers that could change franchises. We've seen it over the last few years. DK Metcalf, Jerry Jeudy, Jefferson. We can even go back to a guy like Odell. Odell comes into the league. He changes the Giants franchise. Now, he has some other stuff with him as far as his personality, fighting on the sideline with the net and then proposing to the net and just all, he's an eccentric guy. He's an eccentric young man, and it didn't work out there, which I call too. I call that 2 out. 2 years before he was traded, I told Giant fans they were going to trade him. I have it on record. 2 years before he was traded, I told him, I said, they're going to trade Odell Beckham. They're not going to keep him. Oh, you just hate it. You don't trade Odell. I'm like, yeah, you do. Listen, if you trade Joe Montana, If you trade Shaq, if you trade Joe Namath, if you trade O.J. Simpson, these are legendary athletes of their time in their sport that have been traded. You could trade anybody. Anybody is untradeable. Except for the guys I love. I don't know how that worked for me. Isaiah Thomas, never traded. Kobe Bryant, never traded. Dan Marino, never traded. Charles Woodson, never traded. Like my favorite athletes, my favorite football and basketball players of all time, never traded. Sorry, I mean, I guess I just know how to like the right guys, to stay legendary and stay loyal to their franchises. But this draft is loaded with offensive talent and is showing in the free agent signings. And I said this on Friday on the Zoom show that I did. It's like, guys, there's not a franchise game changing defensive player in this draft. There just isn't. So what you are going to see is defensive players get a run on them and free agency, because there's some defensive players in this free agent period, and the money's even showing, that can help change your franchise and change your defense. But in the draft, there's way more offensive talent that can change your franchise. And I have like the top 12 written down here of free agents that have been signed so far. And then I'm going to give you guys these numbers that is just crazy. First of all, quick sidebar. New England Patriots. I'm so surprised how everybody's like, oh my God, New England doesn't never do this. Oh my God. Yes, they have. When they've had cap money, they've spent their money, guys. They just don't always go get flashy players and go get the big name. They spent their money. But if you see what New England's doing, they're loading back up on defense. Belichick was embarrassed the way his team didn't stop the run. But Belichick was so G last year, he knew his team wasn't that good. He said it. We didn't have a lot of money, guys. We didn't even have enough money to really pay Cam. But we paid him what we could pay him. We had guys opt out who was still we couldn't just take the money. The guys that opt out, they couldn't just take their money and then give it to somebody else. That money was still taken up in cap room and cap space. But this year, you see, they've made some cuts, they made some trades. Some other guys are free agents from their team. So opened up a lot of cap space. You see what they've done. They focused on getting Cam Newton some help, and Belichick is going to build his defense back. The AFC East might be the best division in football next year. Because the bum-ass Jets are still the bum-ass Jets. But it really depends on what they do at the quarterback position. They could be a better football team this year if they move from Sam Darnold. I thought Sam Darnold was very average and overrated in high school out here in Southern California. I thought that he was very overrated at USC out here in Southern California. And when the Jets moved up to draft him, I laughed my ass off. I said, you just did this for Mark. You did the same thing for Mark Sanchez. And Mark Sanchez was never the player that you wanted him to be or you thought he was going to be. And he did the same thing with Sam Darnold. They can rectify that. They somehow make the Deshaun move. They somehow decide to move on from Darnold, trade Darnold, draft not Wilson, definitely not Zach Wilson out of BYU. You draft Justin Fields right there at Ohio State. And I know I don't believe in Urban Meyer quarterbacks, but Urban Meyer wasn't his coach. And he was at Georgia first. He only transferred there. He wasn't a fuck guy from day one. He transferred there from Georgia. He went to go play in the SEC. He was going to play against Alabama's and LSU, and he's going in Florida, South Carolina. He's going to play against those guys, Auburn. But he transferred when he saw that he didn't win the starting job, which kids do a lot today in college. But they can fix that. They can fix that team really fast. I like the Charles Davis signing from Tennessee. I actually like that signing. Now, I think it was a money grab for him. I don't think anybody else offered him $37 million, which he got from the bum-ass Jets, but he's still a really good receiver. Big, strong, fast, can go up and get the ball, runs good routes. Like, you got a guy, if you say you bring in Justin Fields, he's got a number one already. He's got a receiver to get the ball to. Justin Fields is 6'3", 220, 225, big guy, has high football IQ, sees the field very, very well. Say what's up to Sweetness 727 in the building. Checking out VJs on Sports Like Content. What's going on? Thank you for tuning in live on my IG. here at 3 o'clock a.m. West Coast time with my son Cameron up hanging out with me. Y'all should see him hanging on his basketball rim right now. Eating dry honey nut Cheerios. Don't shake your head at me, son. No, he's shaking his head at me. I got him shaking his head, doing the shake the head thing. But I like the Charles Davis signing. But long story short, Patriots are making some great moves that I really agree with. People are so shocked they're spending money. First of all, you have to spend your money. But second of all, Bill Belichick will spend money on guys that he likes and guys that he thinks he can coach. He thinks he can coach these guys up. They're not all big names. Like, I like Nelson Aguilar. I've always liked Nelson Aguilar. I think there were some things that went wrong in Philly. And then the Raiders are the Raiders. Sometimes the Raiders have good players, and it just doesn't always work out for the Raiders. But I think in that system, in New England, with Cam Newton and with Hunter Henry, and they signed another tight end too. Hunter Henry, and Janu Smith. They bring in two big tight ends. They're going right back to their old school offense. They still have Cam Newton. You still have James White running back. They still have Sony Michel at running back. You have two running backs. They still got Burkhead there. You had three ahead running backs. And you know how their running backs go. They'll use the same back for 3-4 weeks in a row. And then you won't see that guy for 2 weeks because Burkhead's running for 100 yards. Their running backs are the hardest players to predict during fantasy season. It's crazy. It drove me insane a year ago. I'm like, okay, Burkhead is on a bench in like 87% of the leagues, and in back-to-back weeks, he goes over 100 yards and 3 damn touchdowns. Like, you got to be kidding me. Everybody goes and picks him up, benches White, benches Sony Michel, and then he gets 2 points, 7 points, 5 points. It's like, oh, come on, Bill. I think Bill fucks with people with fantasy football. I think Bill Belichick doesn't like fantasy football people, and he fucks with you. Us, because I'm a big fantasy guy. But with the moves they're making, with the moves the Dolphins can make, Emmanuel Sanders signs with the Buffalo Bills today. I think that's a 50-50 move, but if it works out, it is a veteran who can help that wide. He's only going to help that wide receiver room. And then when he gets on the field, he's got breakaway burner speed. He can take the top off the defense, stretches the field. Buffalo could not run the football to save their life. I think this is a move that will help them on the ground, or that they hope will help them on the ground to move the safeties back a little bit, to open up some running lanes. They had a horrible running offense last year. It's all Josh Allen in that receiving core. That's why Josh Allen was getting MVP nods. I don't think he was even close to being an MVP, but that's the way it works when you get a good white quarterback going well, especially a young one. The first thing people want to yell out is MVP. It took Cam to go 15-1. For people to start yelling MVP. In his first game in the NFL, first 2 games, people said he couldn't throw the football. First 2 games in the NFL, he comes out and he throws for over 400 yards in both games, but he can't throw. So, back to my point of free agency is more, I want the Dolphins to actually build more through the draft. I do. I know all these names are attached to Miami, and I'm like, yeah, that guy, T.Y. Hilton could go to the Dolphins. Yeah, he's 32, 33. I love A.J. Green. I wanted Miami to trade for A.J. Green like 3 years ago. Like 3 years ago, I'm like, Miami should be calling him and said, listen, back then you could have gave up a first or a second or what have you, and it wouldn't, like, if it didn't work out, we'd still be where we are today. So that was a move that they should have made. A.J. Green's 33 now, though. Now, the good thing about him, he's been hurt the last 2 years, so if he hasn't lost a step or if he's not rusty, at least he hasn't been beat up on. But if you're going to go after the draft, if you're going to try to fix your team through the draft this year, I like it doing through offense. If you're going to try to really fix your defense, I like it through free agency. And these numbers and these players prove me right. Once again, I was ahead of the curve when I said this last week. Top free agent so far, outside linebacker, Bud Dupree, 5 years, $82 million from Pittsburgh to Tennessee. We'll talk about Pittsburgh in a second too, because everybody's jumping off that sinking ship that can. Joe Tooney, guard. 5 years, $85 million from New England to KC. 29 years old, under 30. Outside linebacker, Shaquille Barrett from Tampa Bay, decides to stay, $68 million, 28 years old. Outside linebacker, Leonard Floyd, decides to stay with the Rams, $64 million, 29 years old. Then you get a center in there, and Corey Linsley goes from Green Bay to the Chargers. Chargers have a new center now for a young quarterback. A Pro Bowl type center too, $62 million, 30 years old. Next on the list is Trey Hendrickson, moving from New Orleans to Cincinnati, $60 million, defensive end, 27 years old. Now, I think that's a money grab. I don't know why there's nothing that would make me think that anything I've seen in the last 30 years in football of why you would leave New Orleans and go to Cincinnati, other than maybe a 2-year stint when Carson Palmer was the quarterback there. But other than that, this has got to be a money grab. But once again, another defensive player. Next was outside linebacker Matt Judon from Baltimore, goes to New England. $54 million, 26 years old. Aggressive, fast, can play sideline to sideline, great in the run game. And he's going to go to New England, put his head down. They're going to coach him up. And he's going to play Baltimore in the playoffs at some point in the next 2 years. I guarantee it. He's going to play an old team. They didn't want to pay him the money. Bill Belichick and them had the money. They'll pay him. See what you can do with him for a few years. After the first few years, if it doesn't work out, Bill Belichick and them will get out of this deal. It's not a big deal. Those were the first 8 players signed in free agency. The first skilled player doesn't come until Janu Smith from Tennessee to New England. Tennessee's losing some guys too. From Tennessee to New England for $50 million at 26 years old. After him, Carl Lawson. From Cincinnati to the Jets, $45 million, 26 years old, defensive end. Next person was a skill position player, but it was another tight end. You notice how I haven't named a receiver yet, guys? The first 9, 10 guys that were signed to big money, and I'm going in money order. 85, 82, 68, 64, 62, 60, 54, 50, 45, 37, 37, and 22 million. That's down to Nelson Aguilar. Hunter Henry is after Carl Lawson. Chargers to New England, of course, 37 million. First receiver is Corey Davis. We talked about him already. 37 million from Tennessee to the Jets. And then Nelson Aguilar from the Raiders to the New England, 22 million at 28 years old. It's defensive players in free agency. This is not a defensive draft. There's not a franchise player in this draft. It's showing with the free agent money that's being paid. Also, another key thing about these players, Dupree, rush linebacker. Shaquille Barrett, rush. Leonard Floyd, rush. Trey Hendrickson, DN, rush. Carl Lawson, DN, rush. What are we trying to do, guys? We're trying to get to the quarterback. Pittsburgh to Tennessee. What couldn't Tennessee do in the playoffs and late in the season when they were giving up 30, 34, 35, 36 points a week late in the year? Couldn't get to the quarterback, but Dupree. Tampa Bay, what did they do so well in the Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen? Got to the quarterback. Why would you let one of those guys go? We re-signed him. Leonard Floyd. Now we hear that Brockers has gone out of the Rams too. I saw that. We'll talk about that in a second too. Leonard Floyd, outside rush linebacker. Who does he play for? The Rams. What do you need to have on the outside? Rush. Why? So Aaron Donald can be freed up to cause havoc all over the inside. Why would you let that guy get away number 1 ranked defense in the league? You don't. You resign him. Cincinnati wants some help, but they're also dealing out a bunch of money. But what are you trying to do? Trying to get to the quarterback. We got Big Ben, Baker Mayfield, and Big Ben, Baker Mayfield, and Lamar Jackson twice a year. What's our biggest free agent money spent acquisition? A 27-year-old defensive end. The Jets trying to get better on that defense. That defense is actually really good. The offense just sucks. But hey, let's bolster it a little bit. What are we going to do? Oh, we have to go after Tua, possibly. We have to go after Tua. Possibly could be Deshaun, depending upon whether it's if the Dolphins trade for him, we might have to go after Deshaun Watson. We have to go after Josh Allen. We have to go after Cam Newton. What do? What's our top money that we spending? $45 million to a 26-year-old defensive end, Carl Lawson. Another number I found really interesting, out of the top 32 free agents, signed so far, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 24 defensive players of the top 32 have been signed. That means the only other 4 are offensive linemen. This is a defense of free agency, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to fix your defense or you're trying to add pieces according to what you have to rush, what running backs you're going against, which quarterbacks you got to chase around, proof is in the pudding. And I ain't Bill Cosby. I don't spike drinks and I don't eat pudding. But the truth is normally in the pudding. Is what they say. Proof, truth. It's one of them. It's one of them, right, Cam? Is it truth or proof in the pudding, son? Which one is it? He don't eat no pudding either. He loves applesauce, though. This is an offensive draft. This receiving core can be special. This receiver core can be really, really special. In my early 8 picks, I think I did like the first 8 picks so far. And this will be one of the first times, or probably the first time, in my sports talk radio career where I will have a first round mock draft. I don't like doing them because, if you nail it, you feel good, but no one ever nails it. But hypodermically speaking, I know that was the wrong word. I'm just joking. That's from an old episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Hypothetically speaking, Dolphins could take a receiver. Cincy could take a receiver. Philly could take a receiver. The Giants could take a receiver. The Patriots at 15. Think about it right now. And I think this sets up for Kwity Paye. You have Dallas at 10 too. We know Jerry Jones likes the beauty pick, the pretty pick. There could be a receiver. There could be one of these guys, Jalen Waddle, Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith. There'd be one of these guys available for him at 10 that he would jump on. I think Kwity Paye is the pick for them at number 10. Go get yourself a D rush end. A defensive rush end that could go get and play up and down the line. Played up and down the line in Michigan and got sacks on everybody. Wasn't the game he was missing from. He won. He helped save at least 4 games at Michigan. Like single-handedly, big play sacks, big stuff behind the line on fourth and whatever, 3rd and goal line stand. Kwity Paye's name was yelled and called by the play-by-play guy and color commentary guys the last 2 seasons, every single Sunday. It wasn't a fluke. He's good. Kwity Paye's going to play high-octane defensive line football in the NFL for 7-8 seasons. Now, he might play for 10, 12 years, but high-octane defensive end line work, 7-8 seasons easily. He's that good. I think he's right there for him at 10. But the receivers are going to run off the board. If you think about it, let's just go through it really quick. Jags were taking Trevor. We get that. The Jets hold the key to everything. Do you trade to? Do you trade Darnold and keep to? Do you get Deshaun? Whatever they're going to do right there at number 2, I think it's going to be built around a quarterback. So whether you keep the 2 pick and don't take a quarterback, it's because you believe in Darnold. If you move Darnold, then we know you're taking a quarterback at 2. It's going to be I think it should be Justin Fields over Wilson out of BYU. If you're not going to trade for Deshaun Watson with Houston. The Dolphins are going to take a quarterback. It's got to be a receiver. I honestly, this has got to be a receiver. They've already signed a running back, a veteran running back the Miami Dolphins have. I think Miami, if I'm starting to really think this 18th pick also, I understand if Najee Harris falls to them or if Travis Etienne falls to them. You got those 2 horses out of North Carolina, and those guys are 2nd, 3rd round. Nobody's got them in the 1st round, not unless they blow away their pro day and blow away the combine. But 2nd round, 3rd round, you can still have those guys and find those backs. I really do think Miami goes offensive but not running back with their first 2 picks. Number 3 to me has got to be either Sewell or a receiver. But Penei Sewell, to me, if you go after Penei Sewell, you're not getting Chase, Pitts, Devontae, or Waddle at 18. All those guys are going to be gone at 18. All those guys are going to be gone at 18. I like Gesicki at tight end. We could use another tight end, especially if it's Kyle Pitts. I like Devontae Parker. He's not a number 1. He's not a number 1. He's never been a number 1. At best, he's a 2/A or B, depending upon what other 2 you have. Like, say, just hypothetically, Miami signs A.J. Green, and you draft Jamar Chase. Devontae Parker's the 3. He's not better than AJ. Even at 33, the last 2 years of going through injuries with AJ. AJ shows up at 80%. Devontae Parker's not better than AJ Green. And he's not better than Jamar Chase. He's not better than Jalen Waddle right now. Jalen Waddle's going to run really, really fast. I think that shoots him into the top 5. A lot of people, Vegas has it right now, Jalen Waddle going first off the board. And I'm all over this because that means he's got to jump Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase did a smart thing by not playing last year, even though personally I feel as a GM, I can't go off a film 2 years ago. I like recent film that would shy me away from Penei Sewell and it would shy me away from Jamar Chase because they both opted out of last year. And if I'm Miami, maybe you if you're thinking the same way, there's Kyle Pitts from Florida sitting right there. 6'4", 6'5", 240, 245 with his speed, his ability, his hands, his power to go up and get the ball. Like, you add that, he becomes the number one. You could do so many things with him. And then at 18, you still could trade up. Patriots are sitting at 15. We know the Patriots like to trade back. A lot of people had them taking Matt Jones because they didn't think they were going to re-sign Cam Newton. No, they're not taking Matt Jones. They have Cam Newton. And they have 2 backups there. They're not taking Matt Jones. Belichick's trying to get this team back on track right now. Matt Jones is not going to be the guy that does it. I have Kyle Pitts possibly going to Cincinnati. I got Devontae Smith going to Philly at 6. You're starting off with Jalen Hurts. You got to get Jalen Hurts a weapon. Why not a guy he knows? There's not going to be a receiver left at 18. And the way I'm looking at free agency, even the way the running backs are going in free agency, if I'm Miami, I stick with Gaskin for another year. They signed Mac Brown, a former starter, a veteran that was in a winning culture. I don't know what's going to happen with him from the Rams coming out to Miami now. But I know when I did watch him play, he had some really good runs. He had some really good games for the Rams, and he helped win some ball games there. Maybe it's a running back by committee thing for at least another year. Maybe they don't think Najee is their guy at 18. Maybe they don't think Travis Etienne is their guy at 18. Maybe there's a tackle that falls. Maybe there's another defensive player. I know they would love to get a corner or a safety because they're looking to trade Xavier Howard. Xavier Howard wants another deal. Listen, I'm going to be honest with you guys. And just on that really fast, if I'm Miami, I trade Xavier Howard. Like, I'm not for guys who put themselves before the team. I like my team too much. I love my Dolphins way too much to love a player more. I didn't love the Dolphins more than I loved Marino. I didn't love Marino more than I loved the Dolphins. I love the Dolphins. I tell everybody, I'm sport first, then player, I'm sport, then team, then player. Sport, team, player. Football, Dolphins, and then the players. Football, Michigan, and then the player. Coaches can go, players can go. I do not, why'd you trade him? If you don't want to be there, let him go. Mika Fitzpatrick was a fucking top pick for us. He didn't want to be there. All right, bye. Yeah, but we're getting a first-round pick. You're giving up 2 first-round picks for this. You're giving up a first-round pick for Mika. Oh, you want Laramie Tunsil too? Oh, Laramie, you don't want to be here? All right, no problem. Go out the water. Now, how's that look for you? How's that look for both of them? Pittsburgh's a sinking ship, guys. I know their fan base and the sports media from there and the brand, the Steelers brand, fools you. It's like Dallas. The Star fools people. They haven't done shit in 25 years. They haven't done shit in 25 years, people. They've lost home playoff games. They've lost years where they've gone 13-3, 14-2, and lose their first home and lose the divisional round to Discount Double Check. They let Discount Double Check scramble around and hit Jared Cook on the sideline, get both feet and make the catch, and lose on a last-second field goal at home. After winning like 12 straight games, Dallas hasn't done shit. But the Star, Jerry's World, that big-ass scoreboard, Texas, everything's bigger in Texas. The Cowboys, the Cowgirls, the Star, Jerry Jones. Hey, what's going on in there? Sorry, I'm talking to my son now. I hear shit going on where I can't see him. Hey, Cam. Yeah, let's make it back this way, son. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Like I said, just respect my hustle tonight. My son is in here wilding out. He's doing his own thing. There he is. And I see you still got my Dre beats in your hand. He's got my son literally has my beats, my Bluetooth beats in his hand, dragging them on the floor as he crawls around. I guess those are here now. I got these royal blue ones. I guess those are here. Stepping all. You just gonna step on them just like that too, huh, son? Yeah. All right. Thank you, son. They're only $180, $190. It don't matter. When you love your kid that much, man, I guess they can fuck your shit up and it's all good. But if I'm the Dolphins, there's a receiver at number 3. If I'm the Falcons, I say you go ahead. If you're the Falcons, I say you go ahead and you get Penei Sewell sitting at number 4. Go ahead and start your offensive line for your future quarterback. Hey, what's going on? It's coming back on. I'm on air, man. I'm live. Y'all see how your kids will do you? You try to be great in life. You see how your children will. You see how your children. It'll be your own children. But it is also 3:20 a.m. As if another episode is not about to start. I'm not sure why he's crying and screaming that much. You know another episode is about to start. You know how unprofessional you're making Daddy look right now, right? There's Mickey right there again. See? There's Mickey again. You're doing all that screaming and crying for nothing. But if you're in free agency, I say stick with defense. Offensively, the receivers in this draft are franchise changers. I don't know if the running backs are. Not a lot of time. I love Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern, offensive tackle. I like him to the Niners at 7. I think the Giants might be looking offensive line or could be looking at receiver. If one of those guys could fall to them at number 11, they cut Golden Tate. You still have Sterling Shepard there. You just cut a center, and then you lost the guard also to the free agency. But you do have Saquon Barkley coming back. Daniel Jones you drafted in the top 5 2 years ago, so you got to figure out. I think this is like his Sam Darnold year. Is he really their quarterback? I think, listen, when you don't have your starter guys, it's hard. You start running back, it's hard. When you don't have Saquon Barkley, it gets harder, and it got harder for them. But the one thing about the Giants that I respected last year, and I talked about this, them and the Washington football team, they played hard every single Sunday. I watched a lot of their games. They played hard. They lost some games, but they played hard. And when you have a team that plays hard, you can make some things happen. And I think the Giants, if they go receiver and can get him some help, and you get Saquon back at just a little bit of not a little bit. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it like that. You get Saquon back at 80%. Hey, Saquon back at 80% is better than anything else that they could possibly think of. Some other free agent names that are still out there right now. People are waiting to see what happens. Keelan Cole, and I'm gonna go through some receivers right now. Kenny Golladay. I know a lot of, even D.D. Westbrook. A lot of these receivers I think will help a team, but I don't think they're guys that you go pay a whole bunch of money for. Willis Snead out of Baltimore, only 29 years old. He's an unrestricted free agent. He hasn't been signed anywhere. Yeah. If you want a veteran, a 30-year-old Cordell Patterson. Cordell Patterson can help you on special teams, can help you in some, sub packages where you're bringing in Wildcat or you're running reverses and things of that nature. He's fit for that. Marvin Jones was on the list, but he is re-signed with Detroit. He'll stay. T.Y. Hilton is out there, but T.Y. Hilton is 32. Mohamed Sanu is out there. Mohamed Sanu is 32, though. A.J. Green's 33. Golden Tate just got released. He's 33. Antonio Brown, Des Bryant. Emmanuel Sanders is 34, but he just got to think about it. Emmanuel Sanders is 34, and Emmanuel Sanders got signed before a lot of these guys did that are younger than him. Larry Fitzgerald is the old guy of the crew at 38 years old. I think they're kind of waiting to see, and he can take his time. Deshaun Jackson is another guy out there, speed guy, can get down the field, can take the top off of defense, but had hamstring issues all last year. To me, that's from a sprinter who just thinks he can stretch a little bit or half-ass his stretch and get out there and run around. And as soon as he tried to put those burners on, he forgot that he's over 30 and had hamstring issues the last 2 years. But if he can fix that, you could get a guy like Deshaun Jackson at a very, very good price to help take the top off of defenses. And if you got a quarterback who can just sling it to him, he can also help you in the return game too. That might be a guy from Miami too, because I don't think Jakeem Grant comes back. I think Jakeem Grant dropped too many balls. And I just think drop passes are inexcusable. And I think the coaching staff for the Dolphins the same way. Sammy Watkins is another receiver that can be had. Another veteran. Brashad Perryman. Brashad Perryman, if you guys remember, was supposed to be a franchise. Is supposed to be a franchise changer and change the franchise around for the Baltimore Ravens. Just never rounded into form. Some of the other names that I'm going down here looking to. Will Fuller's another one. John Ross out of Cincinnati. John Ross is supposed to come in and take the top off of defenses in the AFC North for years to come, and it just never panned out. Couldn't stay healthy and had a decent year, but never put up the numbers or the productivity that he was supposed to put up coming out of University of Washington. Corey Davis, we mentioned, has already been inked up and picked up by the Jets. I think that's a great pick for them, especially if they can get a quarterback some way, somehow. Curtis Samuel too. Curtis Samuel is another guy I think the teams are kind of just waiting on. But when you think about the explosion, he reminds me of I would say a poor man's Tyreek Hill. And there's nothing negative about being a poor man's Tyreek Hill. I just can't compare him to Tariq Hill because Tariq Hill has done so much more. But you talk about a guy that you can put all over the field, line up in any formation, anywhere, wildcat, split, slot, trips, quads, twins, whatever, inside, outside, doesn't matter. On the line, off the line, move him in motion, or keep him still, put him on the linebacker, put him on defensive back. He has the type of explosiveness that when he gets the ball into his hands with an 8-yard catch, he can turn it into a 69-yard touchdown or a 70-yard touchdown, or a 10-yard hitch turns into an 80-yard touchdown because he has that type of fifth gear punch away speed that you would love to have in a lot of offenses in the National Football League. So he's a guy that I think could be had. I think teams are waiting. I think he's patiently waiting himself. And then one of the big names is Juju Smith-Schuster. I think he's a great kid. I know I've seen him play out here at Cal Poly. Saw him play at USC. He's been nothing but short of a professional and a great player in Pittsburgh. But he brings a lot off the field, and I think that scares some teams. I really do. All the TikToks, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I just think some people want their receiver to just be a little bit more about football and, hey, watch me during the game, not before or what I'm doing after the game, but more about what I'm doing during the game. Not that what he does during the game isn't good or coming up short or doesn't help. I just think that franchises now would much rather their guy be known for what he does during the game than before and after. Even if he's good during the game, I think they still want him to be quiet or be just low-key, not quiet. Be just incognito and low-key before and after, at least during football season. In the offseason, you can do all your TikTok shit and do all the stuff you want to do. But just during the season, we would just like you locked in here. Like you locked in here. Just like everybody else is. We're not just asking you. This is what we ask of our team and ask of everybody. And I think that's why Juju, well, how is Juju not picked up yet? Is he asking for too much money? But how is he not drafted? I mean, signed free agency yet. That's one thing that's one player I kind of, be a little weary of. We have to bring him in and talk to him and let him know, listen, we just don't do this here. We just don't do that here. Blah, 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 blah. And just go from there and see what happens. So lastly, I'll finish up with some NCAA stuff. We'll get more into the draft and free agency as stuff starts to unfold. And actually right now, why I'm going to sit here and segueing over to NCAA, I will just click on NFL.com and just, peek in here and just see if anything has happened. It is 3:27 a.m., so it is sick. Okay, so, wow, Trent Williams and the 49ers agreed to a deal, so Trent Williams is going to stay there and man that left tackle side. So there's an offensive lineman that's gone now on free agency. Let's see if we can get the numbers on the money in the deal here. Oh, wow. 6 years, $138 million for Trent Williams. Jesus. Contract includes $55 million in fully guaranteed money and a $30 million signing bonus. Deal makes Williams the highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history. The 32-year-old acquired by the 49ers last offseason in a trade with perennial Super Bowl left tackle sought out, which ultimately ended a 9-year tenure in Washington that turned sour towards the end and culminated in a year-long holdout. Despite missing the 2019 season, Williams seamlessly returned to form in 2020 and provided reliable blindside blocker on 49ers offensive line in the wake of Joe Staley's retirement. Wow, this is crazy. That is a sick deal. So, there we go. Breaking live news right there early in the morning on VJs on Sportsmanlike Conduct on Spreaker.com, IG Live, and my YouTube Live, and also iHeartRadio. Trent Williams re-signs with the Niners. 6 years, $138 million. There's the biggest deal in the free agency season so far. Highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history. Now what that tells me is that they going to keep Garoppolo. They're going to swing it with Garoppolo one more year. Now that changes. This is why I don't like to do mock drafts so early. That changes my mock draft because at number 7, now you don't take Rashawn Slater. You have your left tackle. You're paying him $138 million. I don't think you take Slater unless you're going to put Slater on the right side. I know he's a left tackle, and maybe he can swing to the right. We'll see. You don't punch him in. You definitely don't punch him in and play him at guard. You don't kick him in and play him at guard. So, you can still take him there, but now I think Why would you do that? At 7, there's definitely going to be a receiver there that I'm pretty sure that they like. Or if you're the Niners, I had a friend of mine actually. What's up, Country Boy? Shout out to Country Boy, the comedian, joining in live right now. Also checking us out, VJ's on Sportsmanlike Conduct on IG. I had a friend of mine tell me the other day, the pick he likes for the Niners at 7 would be Patrick Surtain Jr. out of Alabama. Go get that corner. Sherman's a free agent. He's older. Sherman's done. Sherman was done in Seattle. I think he signed in San Francisco off his name. But why not go get Patrick Surtain Jr. and plug him right in, day one starter for the Niners on that defense that could come back healthy with Bosa and that front line, play a lot better this year, get Garoppolo back in. You got Debo there at the receiver, figure out the running back position. Your line is straight, get healthy on defense. I mean, hey, the Niners could be right back to 10-6, 11-5. Last year, injuries killed them, especially the quarterback, because they had to play at 3 quarterbacks. Nobody's successful when you got to play 3-4 quarterbacks, guys. Nobody's successful. So I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I decided to click on NFL.com here and grab that story. So, also, too, Ian Rappaport, I guess it's been reported now that the Bears' aggressive push for Russell Wilson fell through. Not sure why that happened, but at the end of the day, I don't think he's going anywhere. The Bears are expected to sign Andy Dalton to a 1-year deal. So that gets his money in Dallas. Andy knows he's not going to play there. He gets out of there looking like he's expected to sign with the Chicago Bears. So we know the Chicago Bears now are not going to be in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, and now they're out on the Russell Wilson. But I said the other day that Seattle and Sierra were not parting ways. I thought it was all just smoke and mirrors. Russell's just acting like the diva that he is. The Tennessee Titans release Adoree Jackson. That's big. And they're going to sign Janoris Jenkins. They released former first rounder of Adoree Jackson out of SC, a SoCal kid. Saves nearly $17 million in cap space since 2021. And quarterback Janoris Jenkins, who was released by the Saints on March 11th, is expecting to sign there in Tennessee. So now you have an unexpected, this flips me back to Miami. You have a corner, a Pro Bowl corner, who is now available on the market, who was not on the market, unexpectedly available now on the market. So if Xavier wants out, you can sign Adoree and plug Adoree right in. Or Xavier can restructure his contract and act right. Let us bring in Adoree Jackson, put him opposite or in the slot, because you got Byron Jones there. But if Xavier wants out, you trade Xavier, you plug Adoree in with Byron Jones, and your secondary is good money. Your corners are good. You can still go get that safety in the late with the 18th pick or early in the second round if that's what they still want to do. But another late breaking story, something that's coming across my desk here at 3:30 a.m. West Coast, 6:30 a.m. back east. Adoree Jackson has been released, and now here comes my son to break up the show. We almost done, buddy. When he comes over and he leans on Daddy like this. This one I know is I need you to leave Daddy's microphone alone, though. No, you can't push that one down either. Don't come over here and start trying. No. Don't come over here and start trying to mess up on my mic, and he can't do all the mischievous things he wants to do to mess up the show. We're almost done and out of here in a second anyway. I wanted to make sure I got an hour in, at least over an hour, and that's where we are. So, Adoree Jackson has been released. The deal between the Bears and Sierra Wilson has also fallen through too. It looks like Andy Dalton is going to sign with the Bears. And Broncos. Broncos was another move that went down also too. Remember, Broncos was supposed to get out of there and get to the Ravens. The physical fell through last year. And he goes back to the Rams and has a great year helping that be the number one defense. He is going to sign. He's been traded. Finalizing the trade, the Rams are with the Lions. So they're sending Broncos to the Lions, and they were going to offload him last year, and the physical fell through. So let's hope that the physical doesn't fall through. We'll see what happens and see if the physical falls through this year and this time around. Real quick on the NCAA tournament, and then I'm going to wrap up today's shows. Listen, guys, when it comes to this tournament this year, I saw a lot of bracketology shows, and I'm not talking about the ones on the network because I get it. You got airtime to fill. Sponsors have already paid their money. I'm talking about the people on the independent level. I think everybody wanted to jump out there so early to be like the big boys, but I always like to give myself a good 2 or 3 days. Let everybody go out there and repeat each other time and time again without doing. There's only so much research you can do, guys, once the brackets are released to 9 o'clock that night, 10 o'clock that night, when a lot of these shows were on live on Twitter and YouTube and IG and other platforms that I'm attached to and that I support and listen to other people's show. But there were some other numbers and stuff that I just wanted to really pay attention to and throw out there. There's a lot of stuff that's really juicy out there that a lot of people already know about. We all know about the 5-12 matchup. I don't think it is as bad as most people automatically view it and see it as. I don't think the ones are always as dominant and the twos are always as dominant too. One thing I would look out for, though, I took an over on 3 teams that will be pulled out of this tournament because of COVID. They already had to send home. They already had to send home 6. They already had to send home 6 officials. Okay, so now it's time to ruin Daddy's show. Now it's time to ruin Daddy's show. Are you serious? Because you can't get your way and you can't touch the mic and stuff. Well, here, come on down. There you go. You just have to sit down and cry for a second. I know. You're making Daddy look really, really bad though, because people are gonna think that I just let my kid cry. Here, he really likes this chain. That's what he wants to really play with. Here, there you go. All right. That's what he really wants. He likes playing with that chain. It's got a picture of Woodson on it. So when I really look at some of the matchups and some of the games that are already scheduled for Friday, they've already kind of got this thing balanced for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I guess, and then Monday, Tuesday. I know there's some games on Thursday, but I know they got some Friday. That's when the tournament actually starts. It was really wacky the way they set this thing up. Then they have some reserve teams. So if a team gets knocked out, they already have a last 4 that would get a call and go in. I believe we're past that, though, because everything was supposed to be Tuesday. So that's today. Everything was supposed to be by Tuesday. If they haven't had any teams that have been called in, they're going to go with the 68 that they have. And if you can't play, then you just can't play because of COVID. You get eliminated from the tournament. I put out an over under a 3. I went over. They had 6 officials that got sent home because they had contact tracing or tested positive, and they couldn't even. And I guess one of the officials for the official association for NCAA, one of the VPs said it didn't help that hotels weren't ready when they arrived, so they had to kind of hang out and hang around town, and that's where some of them might have had contact tracing, or I don't want to say contracted COVID because they didn't contract COVID, but they had to send some referees home. So there's always going to be, as long as COVID's out, there's always going to be these possibilities. Some other numbers, too, that I wanted to just put out, too, is when you're picking your brackets, don't go for the underdog. Too much people. The proof is in the pudding with the numbers. Number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 seeds are the only seeds that ever make Final Fours. A 12 and below has never made a Final Four. And an 8 or below has never won a championship. So no 9, no 10, or 11 is going to win the championship. There's out of the 20, let's just go here. I'll go with Final Four wins, and then championships. Out of all the championships since I believe 1983, since this format started, the number 2 seeds, there's been 28 Final Four teams, but of those 28 Final Four teams, only 13 of them won a Final Four game, and only 5 have won a championship. Number 3 seeds, only 16 number 3 seeds have been to Final Fours, but 10 of those have won a Final Four game. That's a great percentage. But out of those 10, only 4 won the championship. So 6 of those 10 lost the championship game. Number 4 seeds, 13 times number 4 seeds have made the Final Four. Only 3 of them won their first Final Four game. And only 1 of them teams won a championship. So out of the 13 number 4 seeds that have ever got to a Final Four, only 1 won a championship. I mean, I could go to the 5 and the 6, even if the 5 seeds, okay, 5 teams, 6 teams to the Final Four, 3 Final Four wins, 0 championships, and then 6, 7, and 8 seeds, championships, 1, 1, 1. Out of 3, 3, 5 that have gotten there, and then 2, 1, 3 as far as Final Four wins. So 2 wins, 1 win, and then 3 wins between 6, 7, and 8 seeds. So kind of stay away from this upset of the 5 seed, the 6 seed, the 4 seed. If you think about it, from the 4 seed down in NCAA history, only 4 teams have won the championship from the 4 seed down. No 4 seeds winning the championship, guys. So you could get rid of any thought process of these major upsets that I hear people sitting on TV and talking about. I would always side eye the number 1 seed. If you think about a number 1 seed, only 47% of the time a number 1 seed played in the championship game. 32 out of 68 times. Out of 68 championship games, out of the last 68 championships, only 32 number 1 seeds play in that game. 8 times, and in the last 68 championships, only 8 times did the championship game not include a number 1. So your best bet is to pick a number 1 to at least get to the championship game. 7 times, there's been a number 1 versus number 1 out of the last 68. Only 7. So stay away from 2 number 1s getting there. It just doesn't happen a lot. Those 7 times, UNC and Michigan, UNC, Illinois, Kansas and Memphis. Memphis had a good team, that Derrick Rose team, if you guys remember. UNC and the Zags just 3 years ago. UConn and Duke, Florida and Ohio State, and Duke and Wisconsin. Those are the only 7 times 2 number 1 seeds played against each other. Out of those 7 times, out of those 20 times the number 1 seed has won the championship all the way back to 85. 4 times has been Duke, 4 times has been Carolina. 8 times the number 1 seed out of the ACC has won the national championship. It's not a number 1 seed out of the ACC. So what does that probably mean? The ACC is not winning the national championship this year. So stay away from Carolina, stay away from Florida State, stay away from any ACC team on an upset or a surprise. First of all, Carolina's an 8. So Carolina was right on the border of getting there. Only 1-8 has ever won the championship. That 5-12 matchup that everybody loves. Remember, the 12 seed is normally a bubble team. That 12 seed is the team that's barely gotten in. The 12 is only beating the 5, 50 out of 90 straight up. It's only 35%. And 21 of those teams won their next game to get to the Sweet 16. So out of the 50 12 seeds that have ever won against a 5, 21 of them won their next game and got to a Sweet 16. But only 6 times in those times, the 4 seed or lower made that championship game. Out of 136 Final Fours, 5 of them have been double-digit wins. So the lowest seed ever is 11, 4 times. Loyola was the last 11 seed to get to the Final Four. 11 or 12, excuse me. And 11, and also too, the 11 seed has an average of losing by 11.5 points if they get that far. So stay away from the 5-12 and the 5-12 matchup. You can pick it for the first round, and on the second round, you have a 35% possibility of them winning that next game. So I would stay with the 12 seed to win, but not really to get to a Sweet 16. And then stay away from the 11s. That doesn't normally work out either. I would take probably 2 or 3 5s in this tournament. I normally take 2 12s, but the bet is just not on it. Also, too, another real juicy pick in the NCAA tournament. Cleveland State. I believe something ridiculous. I'll look it up real quick for you guys. If you guys are looking to get some good cash, man, that Drexel, Illinois game. Now, Illinois is going to beat Drexel. I know. We all know that. Illinois is going to beat Drexel, but there's another juicy line that I saw. Houston and Cleveland State. That Houston and Cleveland State money line is a 15.35. Is the Houston and Cleveland money line. $100 on Cleveland State would get you $1,400. $50. Just $50 on Cleveland State get you $717. Put $20 on Cleveland State, guys, get you $287. I might put 40 on them. I'm thinking of putting 40 on Cleveland State. It gets you $574. If you lose your 20, if you lose your 40, you lose the game, you lose your 40. There's going to be a big upset. I'm looking for the big money upsets. I'm looking for the biggest big money upsets that are on the board. So that Cleveland State-Houston game, and now I'm going to check my bracket here in a second too. I want to see exactly. I definitely have to know when that game comes on. I'll check that in a second. I don't want to waste too much time, and I want to wrap up this show and take care little Cam sitting right here next to me that wants to stop and ruin the show at any cost. He's chill right now. The Louisiana Tech Mississippi game. There's some other point spreads. Morehead State, West Virginia. Now I know a lot of people at Morehead State. People say, hey, they're going to score. People are going to score in this game. That is a plus 12.5 money line. Excuse me. It's a 7.05. It's a 12.5 spread. It's a 7.05 money line. $100 get you 6.05 back. That's a juicy game, man. $40 get you $247. I always like to go low too, because put a dub on it. Yeah, put $20 on it. If you gave me $20 right now and I gave you $121 back, wouldn't that'd be a nice turnaround, right? That'd be a nice come up. Could be $20 bet on that game right there too. I'm definitely going to take that Cleveland State game because it's just the odds are just too high. It's just too juicy for me. I got to jump on that. You have North Texas and Purdue. I think Purdue's going to win that game. That Carolina-Wisconsin game is a 1.5 point game. I always got to talk about my Tar Heels. Oklahoma and Liberty. Liberty can score, guys. I'm telling you right now. And Liberty's played a lot of games. They didn't have a lot of games to go out of COVID. Liberty can score. 100 gets you 285 with Liberty. And money line is at a 2.85. So those are some of my do's and don'ts with the brackets. I'll be back later this week and talk more bracketology. We'll talk more about the picks. I'll get into my full bracket. I'll go through my full bracket. I may find a guest or two to bring on. But as you guys can hear, Cameron is starting to really cut up. It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's time that he goes, yeah, it's time for you to go to sleep. I know. Daddy's on it. Did you poop? Is that what we did? He's reaching to his butt. So I told me he might have went to the bathroom, and he wants to get changed, man. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. VJ's on Sportsmanlike Conduct, live on Spreaker.com. I want to thank everybody for tuning in live on my IG. And for everybody tuning in, come here, son. Let everybody, come on. You want to come up here so everybody can see you? So everybody can see you ruin the show? Get all the attention? Get everybody all on you? I'm going to blow the whistle on your ass. I ain't blow the whistle today. I'm going to blow the whistle, and I'm going to throw my golden flag and flag on you. I'll blow the whistle on you since you want to ruin Daddy's show. I'll blow the whistle on you and throw the golden flag on you, dog. Penalty on you for trying to ruin Daddy's show. Daddy trying to be great, create great sports talk. Thank everybody tuning in. Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, on my IG, man. I will be back on the air either tomorrow or Friday, but definitely before the tournament kicks off with a good hour and a half, 2-hour show. I'll go through my entire bracket, and I'll at least give you guys 5 games to take and put some dough on and try to make yourself some money. The first Mr. Green, Mr. 1941, what's going on, player? Appreciate you guys. Sorry you're late, but we're jumping off air right now, man. 4 a.m. out west, so I know it's 7 a.m. back east, and I do got to get some sleep and get some rest after I take care of this little guy right here, man. Appreciate everybody joining in. VJ's on Sportsmanlike Conduct, Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio.